Welcome, football fans, to your early Week 1 live reaction. I hope to make this the standard here on out on the Bottom Line View. A live stream before we kick off the big matchup of the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. A live stream expressing my thoughts, opinions, and analysis, and possibly, most likely, rants about the first early slates and afternoon slate of NFL action. Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season certainly so far hasn't disappointed. There's been some sloppy football as expected. There's been some defensive football, maybe for some as expected. But overall, I want to give you my early thoughts kind of like on what I've already digested, seen, and processed. I will have a later review of Week 1, probably on Tuesday, but these are my thoughts of what I've seen. Of course, I was live for the Patriots game. Don't worry, we're going to get to the Pats. Don't worry, there's a rant coming. Don't you worry about that. But before I get to that, I've got to talk about a lot of other games that went down. So don't forget to like the video so more NFL fans can find this video. And if you're new, subscribe. Also, if you're watching this after the fact, get in the comments and let me know your biggest takeaway of Week 1 so far. We're live. Let's begin with the biggest game so far, the marquee game, the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo call, Green Bay, Detroit Lions. Now, I didn't see every play of this game. I'm not going to pretend to see every play, okay? But from what I saw, I have some thoughts. So 27-13, the Green Bay Packers take it in dominant fashion over Detroit. And to me, this game was more about what I saw from Detroit than what I saw from Green Bay. Yes, it was nice to see Micah Parsons at Lambeau Field in a Green Bay uni. Don't get me wrong, that's all fun, right? But the Detroit Lions, who I'm not going to lie, I had in a teaser today, and they severely disappointed me by not being able to cover a one-score game. I thought, there's no way the Lions don't make this a close game. There's no way. They're being disrespected. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC last year, 15-2. They beat the Packers 5 out of the last 6 games. There's no way the Lions don't make this entertaining, right? I was wrong. Green Bay led in the first quarter 10-0. They looked ready to go, ready to rock. Offensively, they looked like a well-oiled machine early, and defensively in that second half, they took over and they took care of Jared Goff. Now, the biggest takeaway for me is Detroit's offense looked vanilla. Detroit's offense looked uninspired. Detroit's offense looked predictable. Detroit's offensive line looked not the part like it has the last couple of years. Their run game was severely disappointing. The run game of the Lions was borderline pathetic, guys. David Montgomery had 11 carries for 25 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries for 19 yards. A severely disappointing game for him. Fantasy, he kind of saves his day because he ends up with 10 catches. 10. Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 catches for 31 yards. And the Packers had an absolute statement. In that stat line alone, it's a statement to me, right? You hold Jahmyr Gibbs, arguably the most electric playmaker in the entire NFL, to 2.1 yards per rush and 3.1 yards per reception. That is really impressive. The Packers' front seven looks fast. Their pass rush in big spots was dominant. I thought Rashawn Gary really had a great game. Their linebackers are all over the field. Their safeties, suffocating. You know, every time I watch the Lions and they hand the ball to David Montgomery, I throw up in my mouth. I'm not going to lie. Jared Goff completed 31 passes, but he was next to like nothing in terms of explosiveness. I mean, the Lions didn't get any of their classic explosive plays. Every throw felt like a check down. Every throw was underneath. Jared Goff was sacked 4 times. I don't remember the last time Jared Goff was sacked 4 times in a game. with that offensive line. He ended up 31 for 39, but I mean, it really amounted to nothing, right? Jamison Williams paid a big contract, 4 catches, 23 yards. Amon-Ra had some nice plays early, but really faded down the stretch of the game, 4 for 45. Laporta was the only promising, Lion where he actually looked like himself. He looked quick, he looked fast, he looked better than last year. But man, the Lions offense was not the Lions offense. This was the best offense in football last year. This was the most balanced offense in the NFL last year. There were play action, there were screens, there were reverses, there were big explosives. Goff was slicing, he was dicing, and yeah, his completion percentage was high in this game, but it didn't amount to shit. So I look at the Packers, and Jordan Love was kind of mid in this game. I'm not going to lie, like 16 for 22, 188, 2 touchdowns. Stat line, pretty solid, 128 rating. Best thing he maybe did is he didn't turn it over, like Jared Goff, who threw a pick in the red zone before the half. That was big. That was influential in the game. And then also, Jordan Love didn't take a sack. I thought the difference in this game, Jordan Love had protection. Jordan Love had time. Jordan Love was just back there, baking a cake, making himself a sandwich, getting himself, some popcorn, whatever it may be. Jordan Love was back there just bouncing around, having some fun out there. Josh Jacobs had a solid day, right? 19 for 66 and a tutty. And really, you see the multiplicity of their receiving core. Romeo Doubs with 68 yards, 2 catches, right? But nobody had more than 3 catches. Jordan Love really only attempted 22 passes. But Wicks had 2. Kraft had 2. Golden had 2. Reed had 3, which led the way. He scored a touchdown, even with the bad foot. The Lions defense didn't play half bad. Like, they weren't that bad in this game. But the Lions offense couldn't make anything of their drives, right? You look at it statistically, the Lions actually had more first downs. The Lions only lost the yardage battle by 20, but it was really the yards per play. Packers 5.7 yards per play. Lions 3.8 yards per play. Guys, last year they were the most explosive offense in football. 3.8 yards per play. So if I'm a Packers fan, and Lions also had 35 minutes of possession compared to only 24 for the Packers. If I'm a Packers fan, I'm just really excited about this defense. I'm really excited about how they were able to fly around. I'm excited about how it's going to get even better. How they were able to take down Goff 4 times. 1.5 sacks for Gary, who dominated the game. Half a sack for Van Ness, a sack for Devontae Wyatt, a sack for Parsons. He ends up getting his sack, right? Lions, on the other hand, 0 sacks, 0 pressure on Jordan Love. Goff pressured, Love not pressured, baking a cake. 27-13, Packers win it. Lions looked uninspired, lacking creation, totally missing their offensive coordinator. Weren't really missing Aaron Glenn, in my opinion, but totally missing Ben Johnson. They looked unprepared for what the Packers were bringing on defense. And the Packers looked fast as F on defense. So the Packers, I'm feeling good about picking them to go to the Super Bowl. I'll say that much. Out of all the NFC teams I've seen so far, they look the best. Better than the Eagles, obviously better than the Lions. Thought we'll get to the Niners. The Niners game was a lot closer than it should have been, but that's classic Niners football. Better than the Niners because of their mistakes and sloppiness. Tampa didn't look all too good despite the victory. Rams looked kind of unimpressive even in a tight game against the Texans as expected, right? But so far, the Packers look like the best team in the NFC just by their first game, their first performance, okay? So those are like my initial thoughts on Packers Lions. We'll dive a little bit deeper into things that I might have saw on Tuesday, but that I felt like their offense was efficient early. And really the difference for me, man, to finish that off, Matt LaFleur versus no Ben Johnson. That might have been the difference. The early play calling, the scripting of the Packers offense versus the Lions' lack of creativity and predictability. The play calling of each offense might have been the difference, honestly. And the Packers appear to be a faster football team. I will say that. Okay? Next up, where do I want to go here? So I want to go to Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a great place to go after we talk about the Packers. Aaron Rodgers gets his first victory as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and it was not in the way we would have expected. 34-32. Aaron Rodgers throws not one, not two, not three, but 4 tutties against his former team in New York on the road, persevering through pressure, persevering through sacks, right? He was sacked 4 times. He was pressured all day long against the Jets. Will McDonald was in his face. Quinnen Williams was in his face. It didn't matter. Aaron Rodgers, 22 for 30, 244, 4 touchdowns, and 8.1 yards per completion, a 136 passer rating. And on the other side, as a Justin Fields hater, I will say Justin Fields might have played his best game as a professional quarterback. So that is inspiring if you're a Jets fan. But I think for both sides, you're kind of like, what happened to our defense? The Steelers were expected to be the best, most ferocious pass rush in football. The Jets expected to be a top, at least a top half defense, but like a defense where they've been very good the last couple of years. Both defenses shredded in this game, 34-32. DK Metcalf had a good debut for the Steelers, making some big plays, over 20 yards per catch. On 7 targets, he had 4 for 83. Calvin Austin contributed 4 for 70 as that secondary playmaker with a touchdown. Ben Skoranek, shout out to him. Shout out to the man, Benny, over there, with a touchdown and a fumble recovery. We've got Jaylen Warren with a touchdown, and Jaylen Warren had a pretty good game. Not much on the ground, 11 for 37, but also 2 for 22 and a touchdown through the air. Jonnu scored a touchdown on 5 catches. He only had 15 yards, but he did score a touchdown. Need to see more explosiveness from him. The Steelers need to get more out of their run game moving forward, I think. But very inspired. It felt like the Jets were kind of asking Aaron Rodgers to beat them. Aaron Glenn was saying, we're going to take your run game away. We're going to force Aaron Rodgers to beat us. We're going to load the box up, and we're going to see if these receivers and Aaron Rodgers can make these throws against the blitz. And Aaron Rodgers said, I still got it, pal. And he ripped the rockets across the field on crossers, dimes across the middle, when he needed to do it. I was extremely impressed from what I saw by the Jets offense. Breece Hall looked fantastic as somebody that faded him completely in fantasy, as somebody that thought he was going to have a terrible year. Breece Hall had a great game. He totally dominated the backfield touches, 19 carries, 107 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. And I just thought like his movement, his cuts, his lateral movement looked really, really good. Justin Fields also. This is how you need to use Justin Fields, right? 12 carries on the ground, including 2 touchdowns, 48 yards running the football. Not extremely efficient, but effective. Using Justin Fields as a runner and Fields as an explosive passer. 1 huge play down the field to Garrett Wilson, I can recall. Wilson also had 7 for 95, and nobody on the Steelers seemingly could cover him, except for the last play of the game where Jalen Ramsey jacked him up and prevented the first down. Jalen Ramsey and Garrett Wilson were going at it all day long, but Will McDonald had 2 sacks in the game. He had a good game defensively. I felt like both secondaries struggled. The Steelers looked pretty old on defense. That's going to be a worry moving forward. And the Steelers failed to cover the game. Unfortunately, as somebody that had the Steelers minus 2.5, they failed to cover the game by 0.5 point. But that's how it goes sometimes when you gamble. But they come from behind and score 17 points in the 4th quarter. And Aaron Rodgers showcased his magic, man. He showcased his magic. So the Steelers win 34-32. Again, I have to go back and review the entire game, but for Aaron Rodgers to do that on the road, no run game, defense didn't bail him out. Aaron Rodgers won that game for the Steelers. This was the opposite of a Steelers win from the last few years. We haven't seen a win like this by the Steelers since Ben Roethlisberger. I don't think they've won a game where they've allowed 32 points in the last 5 years. I could be mistaken. You guys let me know in the comments. But for them to be able to do that's impressive. It's also the Jets being the Jets. They did concede more penalties, but they totally outgained and completely outplayed the Steelers, right? They did have one turnover. They lost the turnover battle. That might have been the difference. But they had 220 more yards. Or not 220, 120 more yards than the Steelers. And they still lost. So that's unfortunate. But the Jets look better than I thought. I will give them that. But their defense totally failed them today. And it's not on Justin Fields. I thought he had a really good game today. I'm definitely going to say that. There you guys go. I'm not biased. But yeah, the Steelers, I was just very impressed by Aaron Rodgers and his ability to pull that game out. Where do I want to go from here? So we have a bit of a Commanders comment. I didn't see too much of the Commanders game. I saw a little bit. But, the main takeaway there for me is just the Giants' offense is abysmal. Russell Wilson had more incompletions than he did completions. 17 completions, 20 incompletions. Like, you're not going to win the game like that. The man refuses to check the ball down and has absolutely zero vision. Also, it seemed like he was pressured for a lot of the day. The Commanders up front did win that battle. But, I mean, if you told me, right, that the Commanders scored 21 points in this game, I would have probably said the Giants covered the game, right? No. The Giants scored 6 points. They scored 6 points. They only allowed 21 against a top 10 offense, and they still didn't cover. And they weren't even close. They lost by 15 points. Jaden Daniels, solid game. I wouldn't say it was his best game. I think one of the shining lights, or two of the shining bright spots for the Commanders was Bill on the ground, 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown, 8.2 yards per carry with a 42-yarder in the game. Deebo Samuel, who ran the ball for a touchdown, 19 yards on the ground for a touchdown, and 7 catches for 77 yards, was a focal point of the offense, while Terry McLaurin struggled in this game. McLaurin only had 2 catches for 27 yards. The Giants kept him in check. Deebo picked up the slack. That is a playmaker that the Commanders didn't have last year. They were able to use him in the run game, use him in the pass game, the screen game, all that sort of stuff. So that was a big factor. Malik Neighbors had a solid game, but he didn't completely go crazy. And again, his targets were inefficient. And the big thing is, Russell Wilson is just a very inefficient quarterback. I wonder how long Brian Daboll allows himself to deal with that. 5 receptions on 12 targets for Malik Neighbors, right? That's not good enough. On the ground, Tyrone Tracy did next to nothing. They couldn't run the ball, 10 carries for 24 yards. That's also inspiring if you're a Commanders fan. I think the biggest takeaway for the Commanders is they were able to run the ball efficiently, and they were able to stop the run. Last year, they weren't able to stop the run very well. They were able to stop the run in this game, force Russell Wilson to beat them. That's how they won this game. So Commanders, solid start to their season. I'm not going to go crazy or anything. I mean, they beat a team that they were favored to beat, to win 6 points. They were the 3rd biggest favorite of the week. So, they win the game. Cool. They're at home. They're expected to win. But this game, the Giants, if you're a Giants fan, you should be pretty pissed off that you weren't at least able to make this a 1-score game. Just because, you only allowed 21 points. So, yeah. The Commanders did have a significant amount, in terms of yardage. They out-yardaged them, by 200 yards. So, yards per play wise, 6.6 to 3.7. Yeah, Commanders clearly showed they're the better team there. No question about it. Next, where do I want to go? Let's go to... I'm not going to pretend that I watched much of the Cardinals game. They won 20-13. I might cover that on Tuesday. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I didn't really see the Colts, Dolphins, and Durkant's probably fortunate that I didn't, because Colts won 33-8 in probably the shocker of the day. Tua Tagovailoa, 114 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times, a 2.7 quarterback rating. Shout out to Danny Dimes, 22 for 29, 272 and a touchdown. I'll have to dive deeper into that, maybe a Dolphins rant on Tuesday. So stay tuned for Tuesday's review with Colts Dolphins. I'll have to go back and see exactly what happened. but that seemed pretty embarrassing. If Durkant wants to come on and talk about it, I've sent the link to Discord if he wants to tune in, if he wants to give his thoughts. I'm not sure he does. Jacksonville quietly had one of the more dominant outings in a game that was delayed by weather, 26-10 over the Panthers. You know, Bryce has only 154 yards. Travis Etienne went nuclear on the ground, 16 carries, 143 yards. And the Jags won by 16. That's a very promising start. Durkant says, I'm good, bro. Subscribe to Patreon, everybody. Yeah, go subscribe to Patreon for the BLV vs. Consensus podcast. Guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Gronk spike the like button so more people can find this live stream and this reaction. Jacksonville, I'll also have to dive deeper into that. I'm intrigued to get into the film on that one. Because, guys, when early on the early slate, I was primarily watching the Patriots game. I was doing the live stream. And I was also watching a lot of the Bengals and the Browns. So I want to go to the Bengals and the Browns. I'm going to save the Patriots here for the end. And I'm going to bring on Ultra here in a minute to talk about the Falcons because that game seemed pretty fun. But 17-16, the Cincinnati Bengals take it over the Browns. Now, obviously not impressive for the Bengals to only win by 1 point over Cleveland in a game in which they probably should have lost. You look at the box score. Joe Burrow, 113 yards and a touchdown. That's not Joe Burrow-like. Joe Flacco, 31 completions, 290 yards and a touchdown. But the reason I picked the Bengals, right? 2 interceptions by Joe Flacco. Mistakes. Joe Burrow didn't throw the ball to the other team, right? And Joe Flacco did. Now, also, mistakes by Cleveland. Special teams mistakes. They missed, I think, an extra point and a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. But Cleveland out first downed Cincinnati by 11-22, literally doubled them up. They doubled them up in yards, 141 to 327. And this has proven to be a bad matchup for the Bengals offense. Cleveland's defense gives Cincinnati more issues than any team in the NFL. Denzel Ward held Jamar Chase in check. Denzel Ward, probably the most underrated defensive player in the NFL, period. Jamar Chase had 2 catches, 2 in the game for 26 yards. And Cleveland covers the game. Also, some takeaways that I thought the Cleveland rookies looked really good. Fannin, 7 catches for 63 yards. Really impressive first game for him at tight end. Actually out-catching Njoku. Also, Dylan Sampson as a receiver had 8 catches for 64 yards. Joe Flacco finding him many times. Cleveland couldn't really run the ball. I think if you are a Bengals fan and you're looking for positives in a game that was extremely ugly, first of all, you at least won the game. Typically, the Bengals lose these games in week 1, and they find a way to lose. They won, so give them credit. Their defense made some timely stops. They had timely turnovers. They had 2 fantastic interceptions, and they stopped the run really well, right? Sampson had 2.4 yards per carry. Ford had 1.3 yards per carry in the game. So the Browns with Stefanski's scheme that are good at running the ball could not run the ball worth a lick. BJ Hill, TJ Slayton, the Bengals linebackers, they were all in at stopping the run. And at least that's what I like about the Bengals here. Their pass D might be Swiss cheese. But if you can stop the run and get teams into third downs, you have chances to make stops because you can be creative from that standpoint, right? So if the Bengals can continue to be a good run defense, that's going to make them a better defense moving forward. So the Bengals, I wouldn't say their defense was great, right? But their defense might have won them this game with the timely turnovers and, the mistakes by Cleveland. So the Browns look like a competitive team, though. I think they will be early in the year. They have a pretty experienced and good offensive line when healthy until they deteriorate. Their defense is rock solid. Myles Garrett was phenomenal. He had 2 sacks. He was dominant. He had 4 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. Can't go without mentioning him. I thought BJ Hill was dominant as well. Trey Hendrickson also had a sack, worth the money. Schlesinger led the team, another rookie for the Browns with 8 tackles. He also being competitive in there. So, yeah, I thought the Bengals were lucky to win. But unlike past years, at least they won. So, at least they won the game. All right, I'm going to let Ultra, come on, buddy. Come on, Ultra. Get in here, buddy. We got to talk about the Falcons. So I'm going to let Ultra come on here. We're going to talk about the Falcons and Bucs and anything else that he wants to talk about. We're still going to discuss before Sunday Night Football here in about 20 minutes. The 49ers. I want to talk about the 49ers, and I want to talk about the Patriots. Maybe a little bit on Denver, okay? And then, of course, Tuesday, I'll cover more of the week in depth as well, okay? So we still got Sunday Night Football. Maybe we'll touch on the Rams a little bit as well as the Falcons with Ultra if he's willing to tune in right now. I don't know what's going on. All right, here we go. He's here. Okay, Ultra. Ultra has arrived. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? How are we doing?
All right, hold on. I can't hear you. Okay.
You can't hear me?
Go. You good?
Can you hear me?
Yep. All good.
Okay.
All right, so I want to talk about the Falcons. Let's not go too long. I don't want to get into Sunday Night Football, but give me the Falcons recap, your thoughts, both sides of the ball, Bucs, Falcons, and we're going to talk about the Rams too. So go ahead.
All right, the Falcons.
This is Falcons fan exclusively on BLV vs. Consensus Ultra, also known as the Chiefs Kingdom Taylor Swifty. Go ahead.
Formerly. The Falcons were very, 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 very depressing in this game. It started so well. The very first drive, we hit Bijan Robinson on this beautiful play for 50 yards, and he scored us. And I'm like, we got this game, man. And then the Bucs offense started slow. They clearly missed Liam Cohen to start. They clearly missed Tristan Wirfs, I think. But the Falcons offense kind of bogged down after that first drive. And then the Bucs kind of got going. And then it was really just very even game. Like after that, the Bucs missed the field goal. Falcons couldn't do anything with it. Then the Bucs scored. Then the Falcons went on a long drive that only ended in a field goal. Then the Falcons went on a very, very long drive and on 4th and goal scored a touchdown with this great Penix run where the guy tackled him, but Penix still got
They also
the ball
fumbled one, right?
Who?
Penix fumbled or no?
No, Penix fumbled, but I think it was after the play, though. I think it was after he
okay, but they were stopped on 1 4th down, right?
The Falcons?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was early. That was early second quarter. Early second quarter.
Okay.
On 4th and 1, Bijan got stopped, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the Bucs came right back down and scored. And then the Falcons miraculously came right back down the field and got into good field goal range. I mean, 44 yards in 2025.
You should make that.
You should make that, especially in a dome, right? So
yeah.
And Younghoe Koo's been a good kicker for the Falcons for years, although he sometimes does miss kicks at some bad times. Ended up missing this kick.
This is a Falcons loss. They first down them by 7.
It is a very Falcons loss,
They
honestly.
outgained them by 100 yards.
They were the better
yards
team.
Per play.
They really were the better team. Baker Mayfield did not play very well in this game.
He had 15 incompletions.
He had 3 touchdowns, which saves his stats a little bit, but he was not great in this game.
167 yards only.
Bucky Irving had 2.6 yards per carry. Mike Evans didn't do any. Mike Evans, compared to some of the games he's had against the Falcons in the past, didn't have a big game.
Mm-hmm.
Ibuka had a big game, but other than that, I thought the Falcons defense honestly held up. If you would have told me the Bucs scored 23 points, I would have taken that before the game.
Well, what stands out to me is 42 attempts for Michael Penix, and they were leading the game.
Yeah,
in his first start as the proper starter, basically. Last year they were whatever. right? Like this was the
Played the
Kirk
last
Cousins
month.
game plan from
Yeah.
last year, right?
Against the Bucs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember that game on Thursday night? I still thought there was way too much Tyler Algier, man. If I've got a complaint,
yeah.
why does Bijan have? And Bijan did not have a good game. He got
They both
completely
had 24 yards.
as a runner. Bijan didn't have a good game. Obviously, he had
Yeah,
the big catch on
6
the
catches
first
for
drive.
100 yards. Yeah.
But there was too much Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier in no universe should he be getting 2 fewer carries in this game than Bijan Robinson. So Zach Robinson, I've got a complaint with that.
Yeah.
So it's just a tough loss.
So what was your thoughts on Penix?
I thought Penix was good. I didn't think he was amazing, but I thought he made a lot of good throws. I thought he operated the offense pretty well. I liked that he showed some mobility. I thought he did a good job of spreading the ball around. Drake London got a little banged up towards the end of the game,
He
which
left
I think
the game late, right?
Yeah. He wasn't on the field for the 4th and goal or for the last drive that led to the missed kick. Kyle Pitts was okay. I mean, he had 7 catches, but none of them really felt like much.
That's good.
Typical
He's back,
Kyle
baby.
Pitts. I thought Ray McLeod had a nice game, but I thought Penix was. I mean, Penix did enough to give me hope for the rest of the year, but I mean, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't what Aaron Rodgers did today. Or,
Aaron Rodgers
Herbert the other day.
So, what did you think of the Falcons defense then? Because I'm genuinely surprised the game was only 23-20. My bet hit for both teams to score 20 points, but barely.
Yeah, I thought, to be honest, looking at the stats, the Falcons really weren't that disruptive. They only got 1 sack and 2 TFLs.
Jalen Walker, of incompletions though, and good run defense.
Yes, that's what I will say. I thought fundamentally they played a decent game. I thought, I thought they did a great job tackling. To be honest, like a lot of the Bucs completions were they went for few, like the minimal gains. Baker Mayfield had 5.2 yards per attempt in this game. Yeah. I don't know if he had a single game last year.
How is their offensive line?
Whose? Atlanta's or Tampa?
The Bucs.
No, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was okay. It didn't look as good as it did last year, but I don't know how to judge it right without Wirfs because we know he's coming back. So I don't know if that's something I'd be worried long term. I think the Bucs offense will get better as the year goes on, as they get more continuity with the coordinator and as they get Wirfs back. But I thought the Falcons defense looked okay. I thought it was an acceptable performance. I just wish they could cause more pressure. In some of these games, I feel like it lets them down considerably. The Bucs also only had 1 sack, but they had 7 TFLs. That was really the difference. The Bucs
That's a classic Todd Bowles defense.
Bucs created more negative plays than the Falcons did. And yeah, I mean, it was a very even game. Honestly, I thought in a lot of ways the Falcons were the better team in this game and probably should have won. But, the Falcons have been finding ways to lose my entire life and well before that. So,
all right. Level of disappointment out of 10.
Like a 7.5. It's not like that, it's not one of the worst. I mean, it's week 1. There's only so disappointing it can be. And it's a game that the Falcons were an underdog in, even though a lot of people thought they'd win. So,
yeah, including me. Okay. If you guys haven't already, like the video. Let's talk about your boy, Sean McVay. They win an ugly game, as maybe expected. 14-9 over the Houston Texans. Could have went either way. The Texans led early 6-0. Then they had a chance late after a fumble by Parkinson, and the Rams were able to punch the ball out from a former Falcon, Landman, as well.
Yep, Landman.
I was watching this game a bit, quite a bit. I was just like, I'm just so impressed with the Texans defense. The Texans defense is just lights out. Texans offense still had some good things, but I felt like some.
Can I complain about one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nico Collins has to do more. If you're a Texans fan, Nico Collins, what did he have? He had like what
3
was his
for
stat?
25.
You can't do that in this game. What Puka Nacua had 10
they got to
catches
target him. They got to get him going.
Puka Nacua had 10 catches for 130 yards, and Nico Collins had
Mhm.
3 catches for 25 yards. That's the difference in the game. That's why the Rams win, Mitch, is because
Yeah.
their superstar receiver shows up and the Texans receiver doesn't show up.
Well,
I
it
thought,
felt like to me, like it just felt like they weren't really trying to like get him going. You know what I mean? I know the Rams were trying to take him away, obviously.
no, and the Rams had a good defensive game plan on him, but I don't know. I just I would want more. But yeah, watching this game, I was watching this game. I was watching the Packer game. I was watching a little bit of the Niner game too.
Mhm.
But I thought it was a really even game. To be honest, the
Yeah.
Texans defense is sick. Even without Derek Stingley, it was sick in this game. They're so fast
Yeah.
on the defensive line. Like it's ridiculous. And
The-
and that and that like it's weird to say that about a defensive line, right? But they are. I thought the Rams defense played really well in this game too. Like I
Mhm.
thought they got a lot of pressure. They got 3 sacks. The Texans were constantly in second and third and long. They couldn't really sustain drives very well. I really thought the difference in the game was McVay is better at scheming than Slowick, and Stafford is a little better right now than CJ Stroud. And I think he's better at kind of managing these situations than Stroud is in terms of being under constant pressure and things like that. Neither team really ran the ball all right. The Chubbs had okay numbers. A
yeah, I
lot of
was
that
gonna
was
say the
last
Texans
drive.
maybe should have ran the ball more.
But a lot of those yards were on that very final drive that they fumbled on, to be fair. He got, I think, a 10-yard carry and a 9-yard carry. Devontae Adams looked all right. He made a really great catch, like in the
On
middle
the
of the third
sidelines.
quarter. Yeah. Nakua was great. Like
Nakua,
Xavier,
man, the guy's got to stay on the field for an entire game. He's like a 49er out there.
I know, but he is so good when he
He's good.
plays.
I mean, 10 catches,
Nobody, like
130 yards on
nobody
11 Bro, he had 11 targets. He caught 10 of them.
for 130 yards against this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just honestly, if you're a Rams fan, I wouldn't be too worried about the offense. Like this is the only defense other than maybe Baltimore on this entire schedule that I think can really do this to you. And they were, I think, a fumble away from probably scoring a touchdown and ending the game earlier. Similarly, if you're a Texans fan, I wouldn't be too worried. I mean, I was lower on the Texans entering the year than most people. I
I think they
have
were
them
kind of
making that.
expected to lose this game like this.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
this.
a good thing,
I'm
but
honestly like, did anything about this game really shock you?
no,
Because
I think the one thing I'll say is my dad, shout out to Coach, was just continuously saying, like, this is a really good game. Like, he was like, this is a really competitive, like, good
no, it was
game
really physical.
between,
I
like,
thought both.
two good teams. Like, you could tell they
No,
were good.
it was really physical. Both teams looked fast. I thought there was good tackling, but also like some of the Rams guys were able to break some of the tackles. I thought it was a pretty. I mean, Sean McVay versus D'Amico Ryans for years has been a great chess match. Going
Both
back
teams
to
had literally the same amount of first downs.
yeah, 18 first
18,
downs. The
18.
Rams had 30 more
Texans did have
yards.
a lot of penalties again.
Yards per play was Rams 5.2, Texans 4.6. I mean, really, Texans ran the ball a little better. Rams threw the ball a little better. I mean, it was just a very time of possession was almost even. Just a very even game. I thought the
Also,
Rams
the sacks,
were
like
just a
on
little
both sides,
better.
both had 3 sacks. Felt like Stafford was under a lot of duress for a lot
He
of the game.
was,
Stroud,
but that's what I
that
said.
was kind of expected.
I think I just think Stafford at this point in his career is more used to it and better at just managing it. To be honest, and I thought
I
that was
actually
kind
did
of
think Stroud like played a lot better than his stats. Like if somebody just looked at his stats,
Stroud didn't have a terrible game. I'm not
no,
saying that.
it's just he just like for the last year and now into this season, his stats are never going to reflect how good the player is. I feel like because when you watch the game, it feels different than when you look at the stats. To me,
yeah. For honestly, my big takeaway for both teams really is just Houston needs to get Nico Collins going.
mm-hmm.
And maybe the Rams secondary took a big leap in the offseason.
Maybe. I mean, half their guys look like fucking Randy Moss making some picks.
Yeah, you said that.
2 picks, like one-handed out of bounds. Like, what the hell is going on? But Will Anderson also, like, shout out to him. He was dominant. He had 3 tackles for loss, a sack. but he looked
Him
like
and
a
Nagua were
defensive
the
player of the
two
year.
best players on the field
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
game.
But yeah, I think
Yeah,
two good teams here. Rams win it. I mean, the Texans definitely could have if they were able to not fumble the ball on the last drive. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened, and we were talking about something a little bit different. But yeah, 14-9. I don't have too much else to say.
I honestly think this is maybe a little lower scoring than most people thought. Maybe we thought there would be a touchdown each more on both sides. But again, like the Rams fumbled close, the Texans fumbled close. That's kind of a wasted opportunity for both. Nothing about this game really shocked me other than Nico Collins being so quiet. So,
All right,
yeah.
Ultra. Thanks for joining,
All right.
bro. I'm going to finish
Good
off
being on,
with
buddy.
the Niners and the Pats, and then I'm going to go watch these Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens. Enjoy the game.
All right. Have fun. Enjoy the game.
Okay, that was Ultra. Thanks for coming on, Ultra. There we go. Let's take that interview mode off. We're good to go. So, before we get to a quick Patriots rant, 49ers. The most dramatic, the most crazy, the most comedic football team in the NFL take it in Seattle 17-13 in what is probably the most lopsided 17-13 football game I have seen. At one point, the Niners were losing in the game, and they had double the first downs, double the yardage. And the game ended up, obviously, a 4-point spread. The Niners only actually end up closing the game because of a Nick Bosa strip sack where the Seahawks were driving for a game-winning touchdown drive with a couple big plays from Jackson Smith and Jigba. And Nick Bosa strips the ball away from Sam Darnold and closes it out in what looked like a defensive battle, 17-13. But the Niners were able to move the ball. They nearly had 400 yards. They had 24 first downs. Seattle couldn't really move the ball. They only had 14 first downs compared to the Niners' 24. They only had 230 yards compared to the Niners' 384. And Brock Purdy had some really good plays, but then also some really boneheaded plays. He had 2 terrible interceptions. He had 1 miraculous, incredible effort for the game-winning touchdown to some guy named Tongus. 26 for 35, 2 tutties, 2 interceptions, 277. Brock Purdy, expected to be one of the best defenses in football, the Seattle Seahawks this year. They played like it situationally in the red zone, I felt like, and then also with some big turnovers. But for the most part, the Niners sliced and diced Seattle from 20-20. Their problem was they couldn't score. They had a field goal blocked. They missed another field goal. Moody missed a 27-yard field goal, which is flat out embarrassing. It hit the left post, the left upright. And then they had another one blocked. The Niners were also 50% on third down and 2 for 2 on fourth down. So again, this team moved the ball. Like they look like the 2023 Niners offense. It's just that their field goal unit was terrible. And in the red zone, they really struggled. And that's what kept Seattle in the game, to be honest. This was a very lopsided 17-13 victory. They end up winning and covering on the road, which is impressive. They also had 9 penalties for 61 yards, San Francisco, compared to Seattle's 4 for 30. I guess that's somewhat expected when you play in Seattle with the noise. There was one that I thought was egregious, where the Niners' Upton Stout was called for pass interference in the end zone, where the ball was 50 yards out of bounds in the stands, and they called it on 4th and goal. And they called it on Cooper Kupp, which gave Seattle their first touchdown of the game at the 1-yard line. I thought that was a bad call. It gave Seattle a free touchdown, but it is what it is. Possession, 37 minutes to 22 for San Francisco. Again, like they totally dominated in every metric in the box score, but they were barely able to win, which kind of last year, just to compare to last year, they did this numerous times at the beginning of the season, but they were losing those games. So at least they were able to win this game. Most impressive aspect to me, I thought the Niners defense played fantastic, especially against the run where they struggled last year. Zach Charbonnet had under 4 yards a carry. Kenneth Walker had only 2 yards a carry. And Sam Darnold only had 150 yards. So yeah, the Niners defense was really good. And I thought their defense was very fast. D. Winters was a star of the game. I thought at linebacker, Marcus Siegel, their rookie, recovered a fumble. I thought Lenore played really well. Just overall, their defense, their defensive front, Robert Saleh's defense, some timely blitzes on third down. Their third down defense was very good too. I think they might have been, let me check the stats, but it felt pretty good. 3 for 10, Seattle. So yeah, their third down defense was very good. I thought the blitzing was very, very sound, which has been a big weakness for the 49ers in recent years. Jackson Smith-Njigba, though, total stud, carried the offense for Seattle. Nine catches, 124 yards on 13 targets. Unreal, great game for him. Cooper Kupp, he did suck. I mean, he didn't do anything. He had 2 catches for 15 yards, the new addition. For the 49ers on offense, Christian McCaffrey looked like Christian McCaffrey, which is a big bonus for not only 49er fans, but also fantasy fans. McCaffrey was grinding out offense on the ground, 69 yards on 22 carries. He also looked great in the receiving game. He caught 9 passes, so 9 receptions on 10 targets for 73 yards. So McCaffrey had over 100 total yards in offense, 140, I think. And yeah, looked the part. Didn't score a touchdown, but played really well. Brian Robinson actually looked solid too as the complimentary back. He had 9 carries in this game. Ricky Pearsall had some explosives, 4 for 108, including a double move against Reek Woolen, who was covering him for much of the game. That was a really good matchup to watch, but Pearsall looks the part as a breakout receiver. George Kittle scored a touchdown and then ended up leaving the game with a hamstring injury in the second quarter, so he was not playing for the rest of the game. So George Kittle not out there. He was dominant early on a couple third downs and in the red zone, and the Niners missed him for the rest of the game, but he did score a touchdown. Not a lot from Juwan Jennings, only had 2 for 16 as well. I'd expect more from him in the future, but he did leave the game as well for a shoulder injury. So Niners, continuous issues that they had last year. Injuries to 2 of their primary stars on offense, and then also penalties and, special teams. So the consistent issues that we saw last year did happen this year, but I thought their defense looked really good, and I thought that their execution in the biggest moments, unlike last year, was effective. And I just thought this was a good game. I thought Seattle looked like defensively, they looked really good, competent in terms of their situational football. But I felt like clearly the Niners were the better team, and the score didn't really reflect the result. But yeah, Nick Bosa comes in the clutch. I thought Julian Love played well for Seattle. Devin Witherspoon. Leonard Williams played great in this game. DeMarcus Lawrence played well as well. So some shout-outs to Seattle. So that was my thoughts on Seattle-San Francisco. Again, I'll probably have some more thoughts about the 49ers on Tuesday specifically. But I would say, other than the Packers, from the NFC teams I watched, I felt like the Niners looked, even though they only won the game by 4, a lot of people were picking Seattle. It was in Seattle. They persevered through 2 injuries to stars. Still don't have Brandon Ayuk. Still don't have Malik Mustafa. I thought the Patriots, not the Patriots, who I'm about to talk about now. I thought that the 49ers looked like the second best NFC team today, behind only the Packers. Okay, let's finish this off with the Patriots and the Raiders. Quick rant. So everybody expects me to come on here and say, the Patriots suck again. Yeah, we suck again. Okay, we lost. We lost. The new era, Mike Vrabel, Drake May, all the hype. Everybody saying they're going to make the playoffs. Most bet on team to make the playoffs. They disappointed. They lost. 20-13 was the final. Okay? What do you want me to say? But I'm not going to get all upset. I'm not going to pretend like this is the end of the season. I'm not going to go crazy. I will say to Seahawks fans, Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. That was proven today. Geno Smith played well. He outplayed Drake May, right? 24 for 34 in the elements. He ripped up the Patriots for 362 yards despite only 1 touchdown. He did throw a pick, right? That was more of a great play by Carlton Davis. The Patriots defense did have some timely turnovers and some timely plays. and actually played fairly well on defense. Very disappointing from the offensive vantage point. I felt like all the way around, there was some inspiring parts about the Patriots and also some points to be very disappointed. Now, I do think that the main area of the game where New England really lost the game was, I would say, the elements. I felt like the elements, the rain, affected the Patriots a lot more than it affected Geno Smith and the Raiders. The Raiders were still able to go out there and sling the rock and throw the football downfield, right? While the Patriots were not. You know, Drake May looked great in the first half. He actually looked really good, as promised, right? But then what happened? The second half happened. And, like, the Patriots sucked in the second half. They had a terrible third quarter. They lost the third quarter 10-0. That kind of determined the game, right? Patriots won or tied the rest of the game, okay? They won or tied the 3 other quarters. They lost the third quarter 10-0, okay? Drake May, I thought, you know, first half, really good. Accurate, decisive. Outside of the first drive of the game, for the rest of the first half, I was really impressed. He was on time. He was on the money. He was hitting back shoulders to Kayshon Boutte, crossers to Kayshon Boutte, seams on the money to Hunter Henry. Like, it looked great, right? But in the second half, it felt like he was spraying the ball. Nobody could really get open. Felt like the Raiders' coverage got tighter, squeezed on the Patriots. And it felt like everything just ended up being tighter and suffocated, okay? So we need to see improvement from the play calling. We need to see improvement from Drake May in terms of consistency, accuracy in the second half, especially in the rain, where I thought he struggled. And it struggled in confidence. He struggled in just the look and feel of how he was playing out there. So Kayshon Boutte was really impressive. 6 catches for 103 yards. I thought he had a great game. Brock Bowers ripped us up. 5 catches for 103 yards. Ended up leaving with a knee injury. Jacoby Myers also ripped us up. 8 for 97. Trey Tucker had some big plays. Dante Thornton had some big plays, but, you know, they were afterthoughts, really. Devin White for the Raiders was fantastic against the run. Isaiah Polamayo, I believe, had a pick. He was really good in the game, too. Even Jamal Adams had an impact. I was impressed by the Raiders' defense, considering I was not high on it entering the year. Patriots' run game was not good enough, and I will say Travion Henderson needs more carries. Only 5 carries for 27 yards. He did average 5.4 yards per carry. He needs more work moving forward. We can't have Drake throwing 46 times in a game. Okay, we can't have him throwing 46 times in a rainy game in particular. The offensive line, I didn't think was bad. I thought in the first half, it was solid. I thought in the second half, it wasn't great, but it was winnable. It was perseverable, right? Like, it wasn't terrible, in my opinion. I thought the best part of the Patriots today was their pass rush. And I thought the best part of the Patriots today was their blitz packages. They had over 4 sacks in this game, and that was impactful on third downs and situations. Harold Landry especially had a dominant game. I felt like Milton Williams had a really good game. Definitely, I thought Carlton Davis played really well, but we did really miss Christian Gonzalez. I also thought that the safety who got the interceptions, Jalen Hawkins, also played really well too in the run game and the pass game. But again, guys, the Raiders, this is a reason I didn't bet the Patriots this week. There's a reason I wasn't all over the Patriots this week. There was a reason I wasn't that confident, because New England has a new coaching staff. New England has a new offense. New England has new playmakers. New England has new players on defense, right? It's going to take time, right? I still expect good things out of the Patriots. I still feel like we saw some good here. There was plenty of bad too, but I think honestly, there was a chance to win this game, and they let it slip. But the Raiders look decent. Give the Raiders some credit. Geno is super underrated. Geno is super underrated. So I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Those are my week 1 thoughts so far. Sunday Night Football's underway. Apparently the Bills are rocking. So, yeah, enjoy the game, guys. We will talk more of week 1 reaction and a lot more content coming. We've got a lot of stuff coming. So thanks for watching. Gronk, spike the like button, subscribe. We'll see you soon. Peace.